Okay, do I have a story for you guys? I experienced one of the rarest airline mistakes, fuck-ups that ever happened yesterday. I was boarding a flight from Abbotsford to Calgary on WestJet. I showed up to the airport a few hours, or like 2 hours early. I popped into Raven's Cafe, grabbed a panini and a bowl of soup because I hadn't had dinner yet. I figured I'd have a quick meal and kill some time before my flight. Then all of a sudden, I'm sitting there and my flight was due to leave at 8. And I showed up around 6 o'clock. The airport was quite empty. It wasn't full at all. So all I hear is WestJet flight to Calgary, WestJet flight to Calgary. I'm like, all right, got to run over there. Let's get on this WestJet flight to Calgary. They're pre-boarding early. You know, there was like nobody in the airport. So I'm thinking that's going smooth. So I go up to there, cause I wasn't ready for this. So I'm like the last one on the plane. I go up to, where they scan your tickets and let you on your boarding pass. My boarding pass wouldn't scan. So he's like, oh, I'll just run your ID. So I show him my ID. He's like, yeah, no problem. Go on the plane. So I go on the plane. My seat's open, everything like that. And so I'm texting my ride to pick me up. And like, oh, you're early. I'm like, oh, I guess so. I didn't even realize. I was just, I was not paying attention to time. I guess I'm early. So when I was on my flight and I realized I was leaving early, I pulled over, I flagged down a flight attendant. I'm like, hey, are we leaving early? She said, no, we're leaving on time. I was like, well, my tickets here says, I showed her my boarding pass, says I'm leaving at 8. She's like, no, that's in Alberta time. We're actually leaving at 7. So I'm like super confused even more now because what if I showed up at BC time? I would have missed my flight. Well, turns out I was on the wrong flight. WestJet had allowed me on a different flight than the flight I was supposed to be on. Now, the flight was absolutely empty. I will show a little video of how many people were in the flight. In front of me, I was in row 19, and there was probably about like 30 or 40 people, not many. Here's a little video of the flight. As you can tell, it's totally empty. Like, there's no heads in any of those seats. Now, I kept hearing WestJet to Calgary, so I didn't assume that there was going to be a 7 o'clock flight and an 8 o'clock flight on WestJet to Calgary. What are the freaking odds of that they would have 2 flights going to the same destination within an hour? I found that very, very weird. I found this weird, especially considering Abbotsford's like such a small airport. If you've ever been there, it's only got 4 gates, and to have 2 flights leaving from Abbotsford to Calgary within an hour is just, wow, I couldn't believe it. And I still don't believe it. Right here is the flight information for the flight that I had gotten on, and this one here is the flight information for my actual flight. I'd also like to point out my boarding pass did not change at all. When I was in Calgary, it still said, get ready for your flight, leaving here, leaving at this time. And I also wasn't too worried because it kept telling me I was going to Calgary. But what if I was going to another destination? What if I ended up in like Hamilton, or God forbid I don't want to go to fucking Hamilton. I hate Hamilton. God forbid I end up in Hamilton or something like that. Or one of their other destinations that WestJet goes to in Canada. But all I gotta say is somebody fucked up at WestJet there. Somebody allowed me on a flight I wasn't allowed to go on. And I've looked into this, and it is super rare. It doesn't happen very, very often at all. It just doesn't happen. So I don't know how. Maybe he saw my name on the next flight and just I don't know. And it just showed up going. I don't know how they made this mistake, but they made a mistake. I'm happy I ended up in the right destination. I'm happy I got there earlier. It was a scramble to make the flight and all that stuff. The one that I thought it was the wrong flight. It was a scramble to make that one, but I made it. I got to my destination early. But wow, oh wow, did they fuck up. WestJet, step your game up.